My name is Evan Clark. I'm the co-host of the Humanist Experience podcast. We interact with and experience modern social issues around the country and try not to get hurt doing it. Man, being a podcast host is one of the weirdest experiences I've had so far because I've never been a voice actor, I've never been an actor, I've never been a performer, and now I am the personality for a show. I'm the people listen to and trust. And it's hilarious because we produce these in people's bedrooms or backyards or random closets, and we try to put together a high quality show, but behind the scenes it's pretty goofy. I think the Humanist Experience is unique because of the way we interact with issues. There are others who kind of use experiential learning and try to teach you something, and they use evidence or they use emotions, but what's unique here is that we're always looking at it with a humanist lens. We're trying to use our ethical perspective of the world to answer these questions, and it's hard, but that's what makes it special. We're willing to work with that struggle. The most exciting experience so far was probably getting naked with Sarah and visiting a nudist retreat. I did not think I could be comfortable with that, but in just a few hours, your norms change, and something I was rationally okay with, but emotionally uncomfortable with, I was able to overcome through experience, and that was exciting. It was enthralling. It really affirmed why we're doing this and kept making me think about what other experiences I haven't had yet that would blow my mind, that would give me a new perspective on the world. Yeah, Sarah decided to cook beanies and weenies at our nudist retreat. That was pretty funny. We've had lots of intense experiences on this trip, but it was really hard visiting Middletown, California. We visited about a month after a fire wiped out most of the town. I think it was 1,000 homes got lost in that fire, and we didn't know what we were doing. We showed up as disaster tourists, basically, and within a few hours, we'd gotten to know a few locals that had all lost their homes. There's these 6 women who helped start a local art center together just 6 months before the fire, and here they are trying to figure out how to keep their community alive and vibrant and use art to do that, and yet they're starting with nothing. And it was shocking. It was mind-blowing. In all of that disaster, all they could think about was a positive future. Yeah, so we're gonna cover this in the Tinder episode, but actually there's a girl I met on Tinder who had just bought a van and was converting it into a teeny house, and had decided she is going to sell all of her things and travel the country for a year. And anybody that knows me before this podcast, I'm a pretty stable person, and I had a cat and a long-term girlfriend, and here I am now giving up everything to travel the world, travel the country for experiences, and trying to make the most of every moment. And I met somebody just like me, that going through the same struggles of essentially finding yourself in your 20s and developing family and friendship in the opposite of stability. That was a random answer. I'm really falling in love with purple with this podcast. So if you go on the Humanist Experience website, we use this gradient effect of blue to purple, and I really think it captures the color spectrum of a blueberry. And I know I'm a designer, and so I'm freaking out about this way more than other people, but when you look at a blueberry, there are multiple colors that interact with it, and the way I feel like we captured that with just a gradient effect really excites me. And yeah, the humanist experience is a blueberry. I think the most difficult part about the humanist experience so far has been relying almost completely on one other person. I mean, Sarah and I have worked together for about a year or two before we started this project, but you have to trust them with everything. You know, we are more dependent on each other than I feel like a lot of married couples. You know, we are building budgets together, we're making food plans together, and if they fail or I fail, we both fail. And that feeling of dependency, it's been intense. It's, you know, if they're sick, the podcast comes to a halt. If I do, you know, if I do something stupid, like it affects both of us. And so, yeah, tying your life to somebody that is not your significant other, and like, it's different, it's weird, you know, people don't like hitch up. People don't travel with business partners. People don't go on nudity experiences with them. People don't try to live on no money or a food desert diet, even with their married partners. And here I am doing it with a friend that I happen to run a business with. Podcasts are really unique, I think, because you have to show people the world you're in using words. And it's been really exciting and interesting trying to tell stories and narratives that capture people, and yet in a lot of ways you're using their imagination, right? With video, you can show them exactly what's happening, and in audio, you have to work harder. You have to test yourself to see if you can bring them into the story you're creating or are a part of, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I think the thing a show like ours struggles most with is how do you make the experience as real as possible? How do you not pretend that you actually are getting the exact same experience as the people you're interacting with, right? In our first episode, we explored homelessness and how people survive with that. And I think you need to be 100% transparent in how you talk about it. You know, Sarah interacted with homelessness on that episode. She didn't completely understand the day-to-day life of somebody that's been experiencing homelessness for years on end. And we need to constantly remind ourselves that we are not answering these social issues. We are not completely understanding it like the people that are in these experiences. We're taking a glimpse and we're using experience to understand it better, but we're still scratching the surface, right? I think why this podcast is special is because we're using humanism, we're using facts and reason and logic to understand the issue, and then we're using experience to emotionally grasp it. And that's hard. I feel like it's easy for us to understand that people are struggling on the other side of the world, but we aren't emotionally attached to it the way we are if our neighbor got sick. And our goal with this is to help us get an emotional understanding of that topic. You know, I rationally understand how awful homelessness is, but it doesn't mean I change my behavior. And I feel like if we can educate our emotions, maybe we can do more. Maybe we can be persuaded to give a little more or to have more empathy when talking about these issues. And I couldn't think of anything more important. The ducks, yeah. So our producer, Andre, has a bunch of ducks in his backyard. and we hope to bring them on the show someday.
On the RV, perhaps.
Yeah, we got an RV, so watch out, world. We're coming for you. We have a lot of planned experiences over the next few months, and I think I'm really excited to share our story of when we visited Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. We visited the only humanist community group on a basic training base for the military in the entire country. So we got to explore what it's like to be a religious minority in the military going through basic training, which was amazing. We also were exploring accessibility in politics and how you interact with democracy if you are experiencing a disability, and if we're failing at democracy or succeeding at democracy. And there's a lot of stories we've heard and a lot of people we've interacted with that I think will really help us get a better picture of what that actually looks like. I really like to think that compassion and reason drive me, and how they interact. So I want to do as much good for the world as possible, but I want to do it effectively. I don't want to cause more harm by thinking I'm doing good. And the balance between compassion and reason is what makes us good and effective and valuable to those around us, rather than just mindless, rather than just emotional creatures or just supercomputers, right? We're human, and we need to find that balance. And I think we need emotion to do that, and I think we need rationality to do that. So I like to think that that's what drives me. I think humanism is a unique way to look at the world. I really think if you put values first, and you have to look at it from a naturalistic or scientific worldview, you can understand it much better than just listening to what an authority tells you, or just being driven by your emotions. I think there's really this space that humanism fills that combines compassion and reason when looking at issues, and reinforces all of our values when thinking about any question, thinking about the future, the past, or the day-to-day. If you'd like to subscribe to the Humanist Experience, please visit iTunes, Spreaker, or whatever fancy app you use. We're all over the internet, and we absolutely love your support. Thank you. I'll answer that in a question.
I think that's a good wrap.
Yeah, cool.
That's a wrap.
And visit the Humanist Experience at humanistexperience.com. That's a wrap. It's a wrap.